Hello everyone, I am Henry Davis, a representative for the Church of the Holy John. Now, there are two things that you should be seeing about this. One thing is that there should be a flyer here with you. Now, if you are here online and not here, well, in person watching this video, then there's a screenshot with this poster. Now, another thing that's really important is you should have a contract that should look something like this. If you're online, then click the link in the description below that should lead you to Google Docs where you could download this and potentially send me your signature, or just put a comment saying I'm signing this with your name, please. And that will let me know that you'll be signing this. Now, before you sign it, I need you to listen to my presentation for the Church of the Holy John, because once you sign this, there is no going back. So, the Church of the Holy John. Let's start. The first thing you should know when talking about the church is that we have a foundation, and the foundation is that lust makes us evil. That's our slogan, that's our title. And to understand what that means, we need to understand within our society, well, the church's society, what does lust mean? Now, our definition for lust is any strong desire, which could be sexual, like what is normally perceived, or power, control, money, etc. There's cake, you know? That's what lust is, and we are corrupted by it. So within this religion, there are 4 gods. The first god is Gongjiang, which means builder. He can just create everything. He's created the world, and he has created the 2 suns. He does have a limit, though. His limit is that he can only build or add. He can't destroy or subtract. Second god is Giannis, or John, who we actually don't know what his role was before evil entered the world. When he was in the world, we know that he's the cleanser of our souls. The third god, Guang, is the son of Gongjiang, the first god, and he translates into light. And essentially what he does is he shines light on his father so that his father can see what he's building, which is a really nice story about father and sons. And then the last god, Yuhan, which also means John, who is John's son, he, after evil, is the corrupter of all. Let's get to some history. Now, Gongjiang creates the earth as a gift for his son, Guang. And, it's a gift. You want to please your son, make him happy. You give him presents. You can give him a baseball. You can give him a toy, Barbie doll, whatever. Depends on their preference. And when he made the earth, he made a miscalculation. He made an error. And the error was that he made the earth, but the gods, they could not enter the earth without destroying it, because their presence and their god form has such immense power that it would just shatter the whole world. And so, Gongjiang remedied this by transforming, the 2 suns into a form that potentially wouldn't destroy the earth. Human. And so, Guang was very happy about the gift. He went around the world for so long, viewing everything he had. But he got bored with the world. It was inanimate. It's like having a dollhouse with no dolls in it. Looking at the dollhouse is like, oh yeah, it's a pretty nice dollhouse, well structured, and good design. But there's no dolls to play with it, and so that's essentially what he felt. He's told his father this, and this father, made living creatures, dolls for the dollhouse. And that made Guang very happy again. He was able to interact with the dolls, or humans, people, creatures, whatever, and he really loved him very much because they were his. They were essentially friends to him. They could actually interact. And he loved him so much that he wished that they could become God form as he could. And so, Gongjing, he would have done this. However, Yuhan became very jealous of Guang's gift. Or should I say, he lusted for all that Guang had. And, it's jealousy. You want something like that. Hey, that kid's got a nice toy. I want that toy. But, I don't want my own toy. I want that toy. I want that specific toy. And that's what, Yuhan, he was like very jealous, very toddler-like. And, he decided, hey, if I can't have what you have, then none of us will have it. So, he decided to rip himself out of the human form, back into a god form, so that it will destroy the earth. However, when Gongjing made people, he made them to have a certain stench that would counteract the destructive presence of the gods. And so Yuhan realized this, and he created a new plan. He divided his essence into every living creature, thus controlling them completely and corrupting the world. Having them lust for each other, lust for the world, everything, evil. And when the essence of Yuhan has a stench of its own, when it's combined with the human body or human form that's not made specifically for him, it repelled the gods. They were kicked out of the world. And so, Yuhan, he filled the earth for many years, corrupting everything. And Giannis, he was really saddened to have his son do this evil, and there was nothing he could do. And so, Giannis told his brother, hey, we gotta stop Yuhan from doing anything. And so, Gongjing, what he did was, he added large amounts of water to the world, the Great Flood, as, other religions will call it. And Yuhan was actually really clever. He figured out that he wasn't going to have this world for long, that eventually the fathers would try to kick him out. So what he did was he had many escape plans or scenarios for destruction. And what he did with this is that he created a boat. He built a boat and filled it with living creatures to survive the waters. And eventually the waters, they have their own natural flow, and the rest of the story of how the world went. And so yeah. Then Gongjing realized that he was at a crossroads. He couldn't destroy the earth, Yuhan, without completely destroying the earth and all the living creatures. And if he were to do that, that would completely sadden Guang, his son. A father, they want the best for their children, and they don't want the children to become sad if they don't want to lose their stuff. If a kid, say he has a nice ball that it was given to him by his dad, and say he loses it in a tree. It's up in a tree. It gets stuck up there. Instead of the fathers, they, instead of saying, oh, sorry, that's in a tree, son, never going to get it back. Most fathers, what they would normally do is to make the kid happy, and they would climb the tree and try to get the ball out. And so that's how Gongjing felt. He couldn't destroy the earth and sadden his son. He had to get it back somehow. And so he decided, instead of completely destroying Yuhan, maybe the next step would be just to weaken him. And so he created a system that would weaken his power. And what he did was he added internal organs to living creatures, people, which I'll explain in detail later how, but it weakened Yuhan's power. And all the creatures and people, they gained their free will back. However, Yuhan's essence still resided within the people, and it still repelled the gods. And so there was really nothing they can do. And so how does this digestive system keep the gods at bay? Well, with a digestive system, it takes the power of Yuhan or lust, and it compresses it into a solid form. Now, if you know the title, if you know the jokes, then what this is the solid form is literally poop. Poop is the compressed solid form of Yuhan's power of lust. And, every time you poop, Yuhan's power over you weakens and weakens, and so he can't really completely control you anymore. Unless you allow him to. And, which is a good thing. And, when the human body dies, Yuhan completely leaves the body. And you can say, oh hey, Yuhan's gone. However, once the gods, they defeat Yuhan, if you're dead, you're dead. You really can't come back from that, because the gods, they can only do so much. They can add, a longer lifespan to the people who are living, but they can't bring people back from the dead. That's how our gods work here. Anyway, history goes again, so for hundreds of years, the gods, they decided they can't really enter the world. It's still repelling them. So they decided, hey, we should test the people. Make sure they will be able to accept us once we actually defeat Yuhan. And so if you go through the entire Old Testament where the gods are testing the people, that's basically what they were doing. They tested the people to see if they would accept the gods. Like Moses, with all the laws, making sure, hey, will you do this for us? Making sure they would follow the rules and do everything. So after hundreds of years of testing the people and waiting, a little sliver, a little crack, an opening appeared for the gods that they can slip into. However, they couldn't slip into their normal human form, God form, because it wasn't big enough for their immense being to be there. So they had to go down in, human form, but only two could go down because it was a small crack. And so they sent down Giannis and Guang. Giannis was sent down in the form of John the Baptist, and Guang was sent down in the form of Jesus. If you know the story, then Jesus, he goes to John the Baptist and gets baptized. And that is what they were leading the people to do, was because John the Baptist, he would baptize people and cleanse their soul, essentially. And so when Jesus went and got baptized by him, there was a light and then a voice saying, "This is my son." So Gongjing saying, "Guang, this is my son." Okay? And they wanted they were hoping that people would take this as a sign. It was like, oh, hey, so he got baptized by John the Baptist. However, people took this and Christianity came out of. They focused on Jesus instead of John the Baptist. However, some people, they did notice John the Baptist, and so John gave his teachings to some of disciples that would follow him. And that's how the Church of the Holy John started during that time. And so, Christians and Jews, they misunderstood them and miswrote the message when writing it down. Instead of going for John the Baptist, they all went for Jesus. And, they took the Church of the Holy John's teachings to be heresy, and so they bullied them. They bullied them, and they bullied them so hard that, there was depression among the members that they either left the church or they took their own lives. But normally a handful of members would survive to actually lead the next generation. And this is what we call the weakenings of the church. And that's when the church would weaken. And whenever someone would invent a technology that would make practices of the church more efficient, then they would be considered, the chosen prophets of Giannis. And they would become a founder of a strengthening, and so they would become the leaders. And the reason why they would become the leaders is because of the belief that, if you can create something that ultimately makes things better for the church, then you must be a chosen prophet. And so this is where the whole historical time periods of strengthenings would happen. So, how the leadership roles would work is that the founder, because he is considered to be the chosen prophets of the gods, he would always be the man on top, the leaders. And below them would be his pupils, his people that he chooses, and below them would be the normal people, the normal members. And so, if the founder of the church, if he dies or becomes demoted for sins, then his pupil would become the new leader, the next in command. But if there was no pupil, or the pupil dies with no pupil, then whoever releases more evil out of themselves, or poops the most each day, would become the leader. And if that could not be decided among the people, then that usually meant that the gods would send a new prophet to strengthen the church. And with some history of the church, here are some examples of founders. John Harrington in 1596, Joseph Brahma in 1778, George Jennings in 1852, Robert Warham in 1966, and many others. What they did was that they invented toilets, plumbing, stuff like that, which was really helpful for the main practice of the church with pooping. Way back during the time of John the Baptist, they would poop on the land, or maybe a river, and then later we got holes in the ground, we got a bucket, we got an outhouse, then we got a seat, and some indoor plumbing, flowing water, stuff like that would strengthen the church by helping it, making things easier for the church to do the practices. Now, the current founder that we have now is Joe Jackson, which he founded this in 2005, and he became founder because he was one of the only pupils left of the previous group because of the weakenings, and he was a marketing genius. He is a marketing genius. He was great at advertising the church, and he's one of the people who made the slogans, made this flyer, made commercials, and he was great. And so, throughout history, there has been periods of weakenings and strengthenings, and eventually the church will be strengthening so much. And so, with Joe Jackson, now with our current founder, he's the best one we have. And so he decided, hey, the church, our members, we need a community to live in, to be outside of oppression. And so what he did was that he purchased a facility in 2014 to serve as the home of the community to live in. And, the members from across the country, because of his marketing techniques, they learned from across the country. They all joined the church, and they built their own communities. They built their own facilities across the country. However, the one where Joe founded it was in Baltimore, or Maryland, somewhere within that region. And within all the communities, we are home to thousands and thousands of people. Some facts. Well, the throne of Giannis, or the toilet, is where we relieve ourselves of evil, or where we poop. Remember, poop is the solid form of evil that comes out of us, and this evil, through specific plumbing that we have within the community, is then led to the Beacon of Yuhan. Now, the Beacon of Yuhan is a pile of poop. A large pile of poop. Now, why we pile up poop, you may ask? Well, you may know that poop has a certain stench to it. And that stench would be the stench of... part of the stench of Yuhan's power within the physical form. And if that's just all combined in one area, and it shows that, we've weakened him within us, and that actually builds an opening for the gods to come and enter. And if we have a large enough pile, then the gods may enter, not in their human forms, but in their god forms, where they can fully deal with Yuhan face to face. And so the evil in solid form, it helps attract the gods. The holy wipes, it cleans any remaining residue. And the holy wipes are basically self-explanatory. Toilet paper. Cleans away poop left on our bums. Everyone has this, it shows how the church has changed the world, they've made this, they've made toilets, they helped everyone outside. So the holy paper is the official Bible of the church. And this here is my personal copy of the holy paper. What makes this different from any other Bible? Well, what it has mainly is the history of the church, the history of the world, and something that's really great about this is that each member, they write down their own Bible. They write down everything word for word. And this has to be approved by the founder, whether or not this is sufficient evidence for our Bibles. And the reason why we do this instead of just having a standard Bible is because this builds a personal connection to the Word, to the history, to all the people, to the gods themselves. And so we understand things better. And something that we are encouraged to do is to write down our own testimonies here. Now, I can tell you my testimony is Henry Davis. I was just a typical person. Went to work every day and barely got anything out of it. I would go to the bar hoping to find a girl and settle down. I never got into one-night stands because I knew it wouldn't fill my emptiness. One night there was this beautiful redhead named Rachel. I talked to her for hours and her attractiveness broke my concentration. That night I ended up breaking my rule and slept with the girl. It was an experience I'd never forget. After we had our fun, she began to cry. I was confused and asked why. She told me that she had broken her vow of celibacy and abandoned the church. Still quite confused, I asked what the church was. She explained the entire story of the church and her testimony. I laid there, moved from her testimony, that my life began to change. I assured her that she would be forgiven. The next morning, I found her lying on the floor next to vomits and an empty bottle of Advil. It's been assumed that she overdosed, took her own life. The next day, I went to the church and explained everything that happened and all that she had told me. And so I conversed with the leaders, conversed with the members for a few minutes, and finally signed the contract to join the church. And, the Church of the Holy John has been my home ever since. And Another thing that we're encouraged to do is just to read our testimonies, read through scriptures, and just write down any notes that we have here, which, well, you can tell I travel a lot, and so I don't really have the mental capacity to write lots of notes. So, our daily routines and practices, we need to bathe in a bathtub, because John the Baptist, he submerged in water, and so we felt like we should do that as well. And it's an experience. It reminds us that in order to come out of something, we had to have been in there. So in order to resist lust, we had to have faced lust. And so that's a reminder every morning. And we would exercise and eat foods with high fibers and laxatives. This helps us generate more poop much faster and also make things go down smoother. We would sit on the throne of Giannis and relieve ourselves of evil, which, yeah, we poop, get rid of our evils. And we would sit there after we're done or during the process, and we would meditate, think to the universe how we do this, like what we just did, reminder of who we are and what we're hoping to gain. And, read through the Holy Paper, read through our Bible, write down our discoveries, and we should perform the ritual of praise, which basically we would just gather around in the circle around Puddle P, do squats while moaning. This is a signal to the gods, telling them that we are still worshiping them, and that we will do everything that we can in our power to defeat Yuhan. And then every day, any member of the church holds a sermon, about their lives, about the church itself. It builds community, and it's a great job. And here's our promotional video. It is Applejack approved. Hi, I'm Joe Jackson, the current founder of the Church of the Holy John. By now, hopefully, my representative has told you the history of the church and how it all got started. Here in this promotional video, I will show you throughout our community, or the facilities like we like to call it. Come on. The facility was purchased in 2014 and serves as a community for all the members. We all live here and act as a family. It is a sanctuary and is where we all hold our daily rituals. In the facility, we believe it is great for all our members to educate themselves on the Church of the Holy John. It's important to build community and build stronger relationships with Giannis. We also believe that we should eat only foods that contain high amounts of fibers or stuff that make things flow down much quicker. We also believe that we should exercise every day through multiple forms, such as running or simply going on these machines here. It's probably time that we should tell you about some of our daily rituals. Every morning, we take a bath in our bathtubs. It shows that we are doing what the first founder did. John the Baptist reminds us that we had to be submerged before that we can come out. There is one other thing. The most important daily ritual is over here. This is the throne of Giannis. It flushes away our sin. Every day, we normally relieve ourselves of evils, and then we simply send it away into the beacon of Yuhan. The throne of Giannis has been part of the church since the very beginning. Our last ritual of the day is one that we do every day for at least an hour. We have what is literally a jar of pee. Now, since I am the founder of this new strengthening, I drink this. And what we do next? We dump the jar of pee into the center of the circle, and whatever is left in the jar we put in the center. Then we all go around it and we chant, going, oh. We do this, and we squat. We squat because it reminds us what we must do to relieve ourselves of evil. We moan to show what we normally do whenever we relieve ourselves. It is a praise, it is a worship to Giannis to let him know that we are still following him. The founder is considered divine or chosen by Giannis to lead this new strengthening of the church. And when he drinks the pee, it shows that it will just go straight through him. It will not corrupt him, which is why he will drink the pee and not be corrupted. Teaching is a big thing for the Church of Holy John, and everyone has a chance to tell their stories. We hold a sermon where we tell the story of how the church began and all the history that came with it. We do this to remind ourselves where we came from and where we wish to go. It also builds community, it gives us hope, it makes us better, and it tells each other who we are and what we need to do. Everyone has a chance to share their testimonies with each other, and we get to learn more about Giannis and the church itself. It is a fantastic ritual that we all hold, and it is something that needs to be done. Now, there is something that you all have been wondering about us. Now, a very common question that is asked is, what do you do during your entire gatherings? Well, that is a pilgrimage. We all gather at one point at one specific location that's decided each year from each individual colony that we have across the country. And we come together as one and complete family. These gatherings are a group of individual communities that have come together into one section from across the country. These are considered family, and we all celebrate each other, sharing our testimonies and loving each other through the love of Giannis. In 2016, we had our biggest community ever, with over 10,000 attendees coming together and sharing our stories. This gathering started in 2016 and has gone over for the past couple years. 2017 reached a decline, which reaching with only over 7,000 attendees. This probably means that we are losing attendees, and we hope to gain more in the future. You see, the Church of the Holy John is not a cult. It is not a religion. It is a family. All the members, we come together and we all love each other very much. We act like brother and sister. We've gotten to the part where the origin of this new strengthening should be told. Now, my representative have said that I am the new founder. That is true, but he left out my entire story. See, a while ago I was just a kid. Just some idiot who got into some serious trouble. I got into drugs. I was out drunk every night. And then every other night, I was with a different woman. I was very lustful, very evil. and I killed people. There was no justice. There was no system where it was. It was all corrupt, all tainted with sin, with evil, with lust. So I did what I had to do for the people who had it coming, to protect my friends. But I was just so overwhelmed. I had no family. They just weren't there. They were off in their own world. I was alone. My friends, they struggled, but connections was really difficult. It was so painful that I decided to end it. I decided to just take it all away. I tried to do it by falling down a manhole. When I did that, the water was so high that day that it broke my landing. When looking back upon that, it's just divine intervention. The gods wanted me to survive, so they added the water there. I lay there in the water crying, and I passed out. I woke up and I was in a dry area. I had a blanket over me and there was food right beside me. And an old man just watching over me. I thanked the man for whatever I thought he did to get me out of there. And just overwhelmed by everything, I told him my entire story. He looked at me, considering me, and he pulled out this book, on the book, and said, the holy paper, and he handed it to me. He told me to read it. I thought it was a joke. I was really confused. You know, it was strange. I read it. The whole history of the gods, and reading the history, finding out that it was not my fault, that I was tainted, gave me hope. And reading the old man's testimony was fantastic. You know, seeing that I was not alone, that there was someone else who struggled the same as I. I thanked the old man for sharing this with me, and I asked him what his name was. He looked at me, opened his mouth, and died. Fell on the floor. I tried to make sure that he was alive, but it was too late. He was gone. Just years of abuse led to that. Another moment of that divine intervention, just having that old man right there to finally hand over the torch. That man, through his testimony, he was the founder of the previous strengthening. And he was the only survivor. Everyone else, they fell into lust and they abandoned the church. Human corruption. I still never knew his name. After everything he did, everything he's done to build this new renewal, this strengthening, a community. And in all honesty, he could have been the founder. He should have been the founder. But that mantle was given to me. And I'm very grateful. The Church of Holy John changes lives. It has changed my life. The Church of the Holy John has changed so many lives. But don't take my word for it. You have two great people who want to share their testimonies for you.
I don't really know what to say. My father was a CEO. Comes with a lot of stress. He would beat me. One day I was always friends with Joe, childhood friend, but one day he talked to me about the church after I told him what had been going on. And, I realized then that I was really missing something. And my father was too, obviously. He was just so worried about lustful desires. But I guess, I don't know, the church has saved my life.
Ever since I hit puberty when I was 7th grade, I was pretty. I don't know how to say that. I was very attractive. Men saw that, and well, there were many parties and many long nights. I was raped multiple times, and after that happened, I went into a spiral of anxiety and depression, and it was terrible. My life was terrible. But as I was going to therapy, I saw this one poster, and it said, "Lust makes us evil. Get rid of desires today." And it intrigued me. I wanted to know more, so I called the number on the poster, and I got in contact with the Church of the Holy John. And it just changed my life. After that, my depression and anxiety went away. I wasn't afraid anymore to go outside, to be with people, and it just gave me a sense of peace inside. And now I know that I can forgive my rapers. I have forgiven them because they're just lustful. They have way too much lust inside themselves, and they just need to get rid of them.
You see, it has changed everyone's lives. It changes us completely. Remember, we are family. Join the Church of the Holy John. Remember that lust makes us evil. Get rid of desires today.
Join the Church of the Holy John.
Remember that we are not a cult.
Join the Church of the Holy John.
Remember that we are not a religion.
Join the Church of the Holy John today.
Remember that we are a family.
Join the Church of the Holy John today.
If you want to bring hope back into your world,
Join the Church of the Holy John.
I'd like to thank you for watching this video. If you want to know more about the church, just simply ask the representative. If you want to join the church, sign the contract. Praise Giannis. Did you enjoy the video? I hope you did. Joe worked really hard on that one. Anyway, so how to enter the church? Well, you sign the contract and follow the rules. But some rules that you follow would be to take a vow of chastity. Celibacy. Because, since lust makes us evil, if we refrain ourselves from the sexual aspects of lust, it makes it easier to resist the other aspects of lust. It is a requirement for each member to write their own holy paper because it is the scripture. If we do any lustful acts, then we have to face a punishment, which the punishments will be explained later. We must do the daily routines and practices and exercises, and most important of all, we should never abandon the church. Because the church, we are all a family, and abandoning family hurts the family. Now, punishments. When you do a lustful act, the evildoer, or the lustful person, will be thrown into the beacon of Yuhan. You heard what I said. We are thrown into the pile of poop when we do any lustful act. and most lustful acts are mainly sexual, because celibacy. And what this is that it's a reminder that that we have to lose all of our desires, all of our strong desires, all of our lust, and that we should hope to just gain weakness from you, gain Yuhan's weakness, so that we are reunited with the gods once more. And so, if they continue to do things, or, in essence, in order to know the other punishments, I would recommend that you would take a minute to actually read through the contract, because right now, you have to sign the contract to actually know the rest. And so, pause the video, decide, and if you made your decision, then we will continue. Alright? So I'll give you a minute for that. Or just a few seconds. However long you need. If you have any questions, please write them down, send them to us. We will hope to answer them as best as we can. Yeah. Okay, so right now you should have read through the contract and you should have probably signed it. Now, if you signed them, then you've signed them. If you didn't sign them, let me tell you something. I am no longer Henry Davis. That persona, the person who was presenting to you, he's left the building. He's taken all the people who signed the contract and he's taken them to the community. And so, since I'm a good reporter, I've been able to get inside the church, talk with the community, and talk with the leaders, the founder. And so, since they trust me enough to tell me their secrets, because, I'm no snitch. So, if you were to sign the contract, then the punishments that would happen would be, if you continue to do any lustful acts, even if it's just for power or control, then the sexual organs will be surgically removed. That's right, guys, you're losing those testicles. Anyone who is not a member of the church, if they hurt any member of the church, they will be assassinated. And we do this by hiring just a hitman, and that will leave no ties to the church. And the same idea goes with the members who abandoned the church. If they abandon the church or they keep sinning, then they will be killed, because they're rejecting the truth, they're rejecting the way out of evil, and essentially they're hurting family by doing so. But that's not the worst of it. In essence, the entire presentation, the entire religion is a lie. It was founded by a 7-year-old boy to amuse his boredom. A 7-year-old boy is Joe Jackson. Through his testimony, he talked about how he had a bad childhood and no good neighborhood. And he decided, hey, I need something to amuse me. I need something to get me out of all of this, to distract me. So he created this church. He and his friends, they got together. And almost all the members are consisting of his friends, his family, or the mentally deranged who would actually believe them. And so, yeah, you signed the contract. That's a legal agreement. It entraps you to be part of the church. And, it's for the founder's amusement. Which, if you sign the contract, oh well. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this journey. It was fantastic doing this process of researching, the Church of the Holy John. If you have any questions, please ask us, and we'll do our best within our power to answer them thoroughly and professionally. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, that's all we have for the church. Thank you for watching, if you did watch, and yeah, this is the Church of the Holy John. Thank you.